Now then, everybody, and welcome back to the Gridiron Reprobates live stream. As always, the Reprobates live stream is aimed at a mature audience, so we may use explicit language and talk about mature themes.
Fuck Knuckle.
That's a new one. So I shall introduce my fellow streamers. We have everyone's favourite, newly returned from Greece, Seahawks supporting Posty, Phil. How's it going, Phil?
Good. How we doing?
Not too bad, sir. And we have the best Scottish Bucks fan on this stream at the very least. How's it going, Ryan?
Yeah, good. Can't believe it's coming up to week 4 already.
Oh, I know, it's crazy. The season flies around so fast, and then we've got to wait like twice as long as a season for it to come back round again. Such is the nature of this silly sport that we enjoy. So we'll crack on with the show, and we'll touch on it briefly because we predict the Thursday night games. The Thursday night game just gone was dull, as predicted. Everyone except Phil picked the Browns. So the current standings are Ryan has predicted every single game correct so far. Baz and I are behind Ryan with 2 correct predictions, and Phil is all on his lonesome at the bottom with 1 because his heart ruled his head and he could not pick the Browns.
I can't pick the Browns.
The moral victory.
Yeah, exactly right. That's what we all want. We want moral victories.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not going to...
Yeah, so...
Yeah, fair enough. We're not going to dwell on Thursday. It was dull. The only team that is worth considering really is the Steelers because of, the moral victory that Phil has won. I think it's a decent thing not to talk about the Browns until they give us a reason to talk about them. But the Steelers, when do we think the Steelers are going to start their rookie quarterback, whose name I was going to mix up with a wide receiver just then? It's not George Pickens. George Pickens is the receiver. Who's their rookie quarterback? Kenny Pickett. That's it.
He must look bad in practice because Mitch Trubisky runs away from clean pockets. It's utterly bizarre. A couple of highlights from the game. Obviously, that George Pickens catch was nice. I do keep want to see more of him because he seems to be doing okay when he's given a decent throw towards him, and even when it's not a decent throw, that's kind of catches.
Yeah.
And the other one, Nick Chubb, is always a good watch as well. I thought he played really well. But yeah, pretty dull game and went as expected again.
Well, this Thursday has the chance to be a bit more spicy, but we shall talk about that later in the show. So I have a very important question to ask the pair of you, and that is, what the fuck is up with NFL doctors? First of all, I'm sure you both were as surprised as me to discover that the same doctor who nearly killed Tyrod Taylor by collapsing his lung is not only still on the Chargers staff, but then had to perform the same procedure on Justin Herbert so he could play in the game. I am flabbergasted that he has a job and that he's doing the same procedure and that he didn't mess it up this time. I mean, help me out here, guys. What's going on?
Well, what he did was he decided as a Chargers fan that he didn't want to watch Tyrod Taylor start and he wanted to see Justin Herbert. So he just kind of, poked Tyrod Taylor. He was very
collapsed his lung. Currently being sued for $5 million.
I don't understand how he does a job. Or a license to practice law. Not law. Medicine.
Well, he might have a license to practice law, Phil. He might be all right doing that. He might be more competent at that particular task.
If I'm Herbert, or more importantly, Herbert's agent, I am going, fuck no. You're not my client.
I'm doing the old prison thing and like walking in with like old phone books taped to my chest. You're like, you're not coming anywhere near me.
Yeah. Fuck those. I don't know.
But it's not just that, because the Chargers have had a slew of devastating injuries. Joey Bosa is now out for the season with a groin injury. Rashawn Slater is now out for the season, and I think he's got a torn pectoral. Justin Herbert obviously has his problems with his chest. Derwin James is one of the few players who isn't currently injured, but they've got other injuries all along the.
Keenan Allen, he's coming back.
Keenan Allen, he should be back, I think, this week. But it's not good. Like, when you've built your team around having a good defensive line that you own, you were so impressed with the defensive line, you only have two other defensive linemen on the roster as backups to Mack and Bosa, and you've completely retooled that offensive line, and then your best player goes out because Storm. What's his Storm? No,
Ian. Huh? Yeah, big Ian.
No. The name of the tackle that replaces Rashawn Slater is called Storm something. And I can't remember his last name. He's not very good.
Is he an X-Man?
I hope his name is Ian.
Huh?
I hope his name is Ian.
Storm. Ian. No, his name's definitely Storm. Right. I'm just replacement left tackle. And we know Rashawn Slater is not out. Right. Well, this is clearly great streaming, so I'll stop doing this.
Okay.
But the point I'm trying to make is they've got so many injuries.
Yes.
Surely some of this is down to lack of preparation, because this is an ongoing thing for the Chargers. They're always strewn full of injuries, and apparently the doctor keep his job. So what's going on?
He has photos of the owner's daughter.
Yeah, it'd be something like that, won't
it? Yeah.
Yeah. With injuries, we are just three guys that are talking on a podcast. It's hard to slate doctors, despite what we know. I think after what he did to Tyrod Taylor, that's maybe something we're like, what the fuck? Why is he still?
We can slate him. Him we can slate.
Yeah, but with all these other injuries, see if it was like a consistent injury, like your team was constantly getting hamstring injuries or a certain area, but with them being all pretty different injuries, for me, it's just the luck of the NFL. Sometimes that just happens to teams. Yeah, so
they always have. The Chargers have always had this problem.
Yeah,
and even it doesn't matter where they seem to be or who they have in there. It's just, we're a good team, but we got injuries.
Yeah,
even when it was Phillip Rivers, it was just they would be, we really are, but we got injured at just the wrong point in time, or lose people at just the wrong time. It's insanely bad luck. Maybe I don't know if they still have the same group of physio and trainers and stuff like that for working out and shit like that. Maybe it's something to do with that, but I can't see how. I think they're just cursed.
Potentially.
I think the issue I have more so than what's up with the staff is the fact that they played Herbert when he was clearly in so much pain and wasn't going to be effective.
Because they were
against a team line like the Jags as well that are playing really well. That's more the issue I have.
You're not winning that game in the fourth quarter. You might as well pull him.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the entire fourth quarter, maybe like the half of the fourth quarter. I know it's hard because players want to play. But at some point, you've got to overrule him.
Exactly right. Sometimes you've got to look out for their best interests when they're not looking out for their own best interests.
Yeah.
So, and you're right.
I do it all the time. If I get hurt, I will try and play. And my coach is like, no, sit down.
Exactly right.
No, I can do this. So I'm dragging my bum ankle again.
Yeah, but you're not realising you're not helping the the team at that point as well. And you've seen it. It was in the first quarter. It was one of the first plays on offense. Someone gave him a right good hit right at the sideline, and you could see he was down and wincing in pain as if I cannot move. And that was in the first quarter.
Mm.
It was that's more the issue I have with it, where you're hurting your long term, or you don't know what you're doing for your long term future there for a game that clearly he shouldn't be in for.
Yeah, especially like I think it's one thing to start him in the game if he's tried to get himself into position to be fit, but why he was in there at the end of the game when the game was out, they couldn't win the game anymore. They should have pulled him out. That is far worse to me than they were at the beginning. I think that next they should leave him out. I'm just trying to look at who they've got this week. So they're playing the Texans. They can probably beat the Texans with Chase Daniel, to be honest. So they don't really need to play him. So they should rest him this week and then see if a week's rest is going to improve his ribs.
This is the thing. There's so little you can actually do for if he's got broken ribs or whatever it is. There's so little you can actually do for that. It's not like you can put a cast on because you'd have to wrap your entire body. And then any time you vaguely move, it's going to crack or get in the way. So the only thing you can really do for broken ribs is rest. Or any kind of injury. You just need to stop getting hit.
So, from one particularly cursed NFL franchise to another peculiar incident allegedly involving a doctor. Are we buying the
No.
Tua Tagovailoa has a
going,
back spasm issue?
Absolutely fucking not. No.
Is anybody buying that?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's maybe an issue they found post game and said, "Oh, that's the reason for that." The video where he can't stand up, he's just slammed his head off the floor. It's clear to everyone what that was. Why they're trying to pretend. Why they're trying to pretend that it was the back spasms that caused that. See if they came out and says, that was because he hit his head, and then an independent doctor checked him out, cleared him to come back in the second half, but the ongoing issue is an injury he's sustained to his back. That would be more understandable, but to just say, that was a back spasm, nah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Every time you hit your head, you don't always concuss yourself. Even if you hit it really hard, sometimes you're fine. I've hit my head against all kinds of things and been all right. Now,
allegedly.
Because I've got a goat-like skull. But to say it was a back thing, that's why he was all dizzy and everything else. That's just not possible.
And the whole
point, you're going to be a bit shook up. You're going to be a bit, and then you might be fine. He might genuinely not have had a concussion. He might have been absolutely fine.
And that's the reason
the back injury is bollocks.
But that's the reason the independent doctor is there. It's to go. It's to take the decision out of the coach's hands. He clearly hit his head. He stumbled as he came off the pitch. He goes and sees the independent doctor. The independent doctor clears him mistakenly, and that's on the doctor. Because if you're the coach, and you see it happen, you send him off to the doctor, and he comes. The doctor says, no bother, and you play him, and it turns out he was concussed. No one's going to blame you because you've got independent advice.
The doctor said it,
So, I think this is complete speculation. I have no insider knowledge about what's going on. This is just me and my opinion. I think they didn't check him, and that's why they're saying it's the back spasm thing.
And that's why they are happy going along with it.
Yeah, because I don't think he was checked. Because otherwise they would have happily gone, look, here we go. We had him checked. Here's the doctor's write-up on when he assessed him. Yeah. His video of him in the tunnel going to see the independent doctor. We'd have seen all of that, but we've seen none of that. So I think he wasn't checked and allowed to go back into the game. and now they're saying it's a back spasm issue.
No, yeah, this is the thing. He may well have hurt his back. He may have had a back spasm. I get them all the time. Fucking shit. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. That he just never got checked. Oh, no, he's fine. He says he's fine. He's fine.
It's not good optics,
No.
to put it. That was an interesting game though, where everybody seemed to run out of electrolytes early in the first quarter because it was insanely hot in Miami. It was something like 40 degrees Celsius on the pitch, and you're trying to run around in all that padding.
Yeah.
I feel for everyone on the pitch that day. That must have been horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, I played like.
Yeah, it was like they were playing through mud. See, like a mud game. They were moving so slow and like they were trudging through it. It was just pure heat.
Yeah, I mean, I've played like summer football tournaments when I was younger, but yeah, obviously I'm not wearing padding. I'm in t-shirt and shorts. If we're playing football, English football, not American football.
Yeah,
that's fucking brutal. But yeah, running around in pads and everything else and a helmet, and you're just going to be just drenched in the. You just need to be hydrating constantly. I mean, I think Josh mentioned it on the pod when I listened to it earlier that Diggs had 2 IVs. He needed 2 IVs just to stay, upright. That's insane. Playing in the cold is one thing because you can warm up. Playing when it's too hot, it's a lot more difficult.
The threat of heat exhaustion is so much higher than the threat of hypothermia, especially when you're staying active. I remember when I went on one of my coaching courses, we had a load of American coaches in from the deep south who were all like telling us all about like the dangers of heat exhaustion, and we were all sitting there going, "We play in the winter in the north of England. This is not going to be a problem." But they were saying but they're all from like Alabama and whatnot, and saying, yeah, you need to have like big ice buckets, and if anyone looks like they're getting too hot, you just throw them in the ice bucket so they can cool down. Like, no, I don't think this is going to be a problem.
Not going to be a problem. We don't need an ice bucket. There's a puddle over there.
we can scrape some of the ice off the field, just rub it in our faces.
It's fine. We can do that.
But it's much harder to cool down than it is to heat up the human body. So yeah, I think the guys had it right on the gridiron, gentlemen. If that's the case, then the league needs to do something. Bumping the game to 4:00 would have done. It would have done the trick because you're no longer in the midday sun. It would have cooled right down on the field. Still a bit hot, but it wouldn't have been that hot. Like it wasn't that hot. It was a good 10 degrees cooler when Tampa Bay kicked off at 4:00.
Yeah,
and Tampa Bay is not that far away from Miami.
No.
So if that's going to happen again, I think the league need to look at moving their games to a bit later because that was insane.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's everything we wanted to talk about doctors and how they're helping their teams be successful. Let's talk about 3 of the NFL's frontrunners all slipped up over the weekend. We just have kind of talked a little bit about one of them, and that was the Bills. I think the Bills, some of it was down to luck. Some of it was down to the heat, and some of it was just down to not playing very well. But
yeah.
Miami's defense did a great job of shutting them down. I think. Weirdly, I think kicking the ball into someone's ass and then getting a safety off that was actually saved them because that would not have been a deep punt. That punt would have gone not that far, and it's not that far.
That was like straight up, wasn't it?
Sure, but just because they were already backed up, so he wouldn't have had the trajectory to like boot it long. He would have had to have booted it high if it was a good punt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it would have just gone up and then.
Yeah, no, sorry. I thought you were describing the trajectory. I think it came off that poor bloke's backside.
No, I mean that went up as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Backwards.
But so they would have got, I reckon the Bills would have got the ball at the Dolphins like 35, 40,
Yeah.
something like that. And then I don't think it would have been too much effort for the Bills to drive in for the score from that point. So I think weirdly, then him booting it off that poor guy's backside and then really booting the kickoff afterwards deep actually saved Miami.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, and that's just kind of the kind of thing that just didn't go the Bills' way.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a combination of a bunch of things. They got some play calls wrong, especially towards the end of the game there when it was getting tight. I think they got a couple of the little bits wrong. Like that last one where they couldn't get the spike down in time was probably because the play took too long to get going. The one before that, and yeah, I think it's a case of Miami played really well. Buffalo didn't play brilliantly, and yeah, just some bad luck on some plays, just little bits just going against them. I wouldn't worry if I was a Bills fan. You know, it's a little blip. They'll probably be fine. They've got who they're playing this week. They're playing the Ravens, so it won't be an easy game. But the Ravens have now got to play a pissed off Bills team, which I don't know I'd be that happy about.
I think that game's going to be fireworks because, unfortunately, because safety Micah Hyde is out for the season for the Bills. He's a really big loss to their secondary. Fortunately for the Bills, they do still have an incredible defensive line, and the Baltimore offensive line does have weaknesses. Specifically, a center does not like to be bull rushed. So I think that's going to be a really good game. I'm looking forward to that one on the weekend. What do you think about the Bills, Ryan? Do you think they're going to be okay in the long run?
Yeah, I think it was just one of those games where everything seemed to go wrong. It happens. Another day, that punt, like you said, goes to the 35, 40-yard line and they run up and score. So, yeah, I wouldn't be... There's nothing there that would worry me at all. The Dolphins are clearly a good team as well. So, yeah,
surprisingly good.
Those days. Yeah, surprisingly good, but good. So, yeah, just one of those days. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I do think the kind of dominance that they appeared to have in the first two games has gone because they are a little bit more injured than they were previously, and they don't seem to be running the ball very well. But Josh Allen is still a superstar quarterback playing at a superstar level, and that defensive line is still all kinds of scary. So I think they're going to be fine in the end.
I just read on the final play of the game. I don't think they would have got the snap off, but was there a college game in the same stadium? And I think the referee started to spot it at the hash mark for the college game that they've been, realised his mistake and had to respot it to the correct. But I don't think there would have been time anyway. I've seen some complain about it on Twitter, but nah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that getting the spike down was anybody's fault. I think it was that the play before that took too much time.
Yeah, he didn't get out of bounds.
Yeah. It's just run out of bounds.
Yeah.
If you can't hit the receiver in a place where you can get out of bounds, just launch it out of bounds.
Yeah.
At that point, just so you can stop the clock and get either another play or a field goal or whatever. You know.
Yeah. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about the Dolphins when we preview tonight's game. So let's talk about another team where it's easy to work out what's going wrong, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Matter of fact is they just don't have players on offense at the moment. Where when your top three wide receivers are out, you're down to your third string left tackle, your starting center is gone, and your offense isn't playing very well. It's very easy to work out what's going on. The Buccaneers play a high wire offense that requires their players to play exceptionally well, and fortunately for the Buccaneers, they've got a lot of really good players. But when those players are not there, then the offense just doesn't function in the same way, and it's obvious to see. The Packers defense is pretty good. I think if the Bucs had Mike Evans, we would have won the game, especially after Jerry Alexander went out. So that's equally annoying for his antics in the game before. But it's one of those things where none of the players that are out long term. We get Evans back this week. Chris Godwin should be back in a week or two. Donovan Smith should be back in a week or two. So, and more importantly, the booking schedule gets a lot easier after this Sunday. We played most of our tough games in the first 4 weeks, and then we've got like a nice little 4-week span where the toughest team we have to play is like the Saints. So I think the Buccaneers, once they start to get healthy, will be fine as well because their defense is phenomenal. Aaron Rodgers had to play so well in that first half. Like, he had to play the best football to move the ball as he did. And let's be fair, he was playing absolutely out of his skin. And he just couldn't sustain it because they have the same problem that the Bucs offense has. They just don't have the level of talent to sustain that kind of play. Because Rodgers in the first half was incredible, and he just started to run out of answers as the Bucs started to adjust to what he was doing, and he just doesn't have the superstar playmakers in his receiving core to like take over a game. Because I love that Tampa Bay defense. It's freaking awesome. I love Antonio Whitfield. I think he's my favorite player on that defense at the moment. He just flies all over the pitch and he's everywhere. So I think Tampa's going to be fine again, but I'm pretty biased about that. You're pretty not biased about this though, Ryan. What do you reckon?
I think we'll be fine. There's two main things I took from the game was our defense. Once we make adjustments, and we showed it last year as well. Once we know what the opposition offense is doing, we lock it down. It's just how quick we figure that out. My favourite part has to be Vita Vea dropping into coverage, slamming through Aaron Jones in the back, and Aaron Jones fumbled it on the goal line. That was, if you've not seen it, watch it because it is absolutely brilliant. The second thing to do with the offense is some really questionable play calling, not just execution, but the actual play calling. We started off, and we usually run it on first down, but we started the game with a really nice play action pass, and it was like, oh my god, we're actually going to pass the ball and mix it up a wee bit today. And then we went to the same slow dump offs here, dropped passes there. We make a really nice third down conversion to Darden for 25 yards. They try a run and then they try this stupid trick play, which was a double flea flicker pass, and Scotty Miller dropped it before he gave it back to Brady, and Brady had to jump, and at that point we're 3rd and 22 or something. Why do that just after you've completed a 25-yard pass to Darden? And then the last drive of the game, when we were playing up-tempo, it was completion after completion. So I'd like to see more of that during the game rather than when it's 2 minutes to go and we need a touchdown. But again, last year we had kind of similar problems. We actually had similar problems the last 2 years, and we fixed it after the bye week. So I think we'll be fine no matter what happens this weekend. I said before the season started, if we can get past it, the first 4 games 2-2, then I'd be reasonably confident that we'd be okay. Now it's just getting players back. And annoyingly, what I think would have helped this week, ironically, is a player like Antonio Brown. He'd still be a number 1 receiver. See if you put him in there, if Mike Evans was out, I think we would have been fine as well. So it's annoying when you don't have that really good third guy that can elevate. As good as Russell Gage is and played on Sunday, he's still not that level to be your true number 1.
Russell Gage is not a number 1 receiver. He's a very good number 2 receiver. He needs someone else to be like taking the concentration of the defense away from him to thrive, because he just can't do that himself. But that's why I think if we had Evans in the game, we'd have won, because Evans would have drawn all the coverage. Gage would have been able to operate underneath in all that mess. So I think we'll be fine too. Hey, what about you, Phil? You've not said anything for a while.
I mean, your defense is good enough to carry through a lot of games, because it's not every week you're going to play the Packers. You know, you're going to be playing people like the Panthers, who aren't great. You're going to play people like the Falcons, who look good against bad teams like the Seahawks. But your defense will probably shut them down. And all you then need to do is get a couple of touchdowns and then you're fine. Which your offense, even without all these weapons and players, is still good enough to get a few. You're still good enough to put enough points on the board to beat teams because your defense is really, really good. So, yeah, same with the Bills. I wouldn't be that worried. It's just because you're a bit hurt at the minute. And as long as you can get healthy by the end of the season, you'll be fine. Because you'll be in the playoffs because you'll probably win your division. I know I picked the Saints to win the division, but that was more just because it was funny.
I think I made my feelings on what the Saints have done at quarterback very clear in the last podcast.
So I just think you'll be fine. I'm not worried for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care because, but I'm not worried about whether the Buccaneers are going to make the playoffs or anything else because I'm pretty sure you will.
Yeah, agreed. So let's talk about the Buccaneers' opponents this Sunday, who also dropped a clanger, losing to the Colts, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. They potentially, and this might be me being wishful thinking, considering they're our next opponent, but they might be the most at risk from the others because there was clearly some disagreements between Kermit the Frog and his coaching staff. He was not happy with Bieniemy and what some of the things Bieniemy was doing. They were having a very public disagreement on the sideline. I don't think Mahomes played badly. The thing with Mahomes is he's played so well over the years that when he has like a normal quarterback game, everyone goes, "What's wrong with Mahomes?" But so he was having one of his not good games, which is probably better than like 70% of the other quarterbacks in the league. And I think the Colts knew they had to win and really, really showed up in that game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, the Colts had their backs against the wall. This was it. If they lost this game, their season was probably going to be done because there was no coming back from being 0-3 for them. Whereas the Chiefs, I think their biggest weakness is probably defensively. They're not great. So that if you get going on offense against them, and especially if their offense isn't clicking 100%, that's where you give yourself a chance to win, which is basically what the Colts did. And I think sometimes they can. I feel like sometimes they can try and get a bit too cute with stuff with Mahomes because I mean he is so outrageously talented at just flinging and flicking and throwing the ball all over the shop that sometimes you try and almost do too much. You're thinking, oh, well, we're going to win this game, so let's try some stuff. And if it doesn't come off, and then he gets frustrated, and then he tries to get it all back in like one or two throws, which a lot of quarterbacks do. It's not just him. You know, Russell Wilson was one for it as well. He would just try and get the entire game back in like a single play, which you can't do. So I think that they're again, I think they'll be fine, mostly because the AFC West seems to be imploding around them.
It's weird how we all thought that was going to be like the toughest division in football, and then like it's going to be the Chiefs just going to walk it again, aren't they?
The fuck are the Broncos? I mean, the Raiders. I wasn't expecting amazing things. What the fuck are the Broncos doing? God, shit.
I saw a great tweet.
Offense.
I saw a great tweet where they said clearly they hired Nathaniel Hackett to lure Aaron Rodgers away from Green Bay, and that didn't work. So now you're stuck with Nathaniel Hackett, who doesn't know how to scheme an offense for Russell Wilson.
No, it clearly there is. I don't know what it is. I think I may have said this on the pod when I was last on. I don't know what it is that's wrong. There's some miscommunication or something between Hackett and Wilson, or someone somewhere, because the constant time running out, having to get the fans to count the clock for you, and everything else the Broncos are doing. Fuck is it? You're a professional football team. Fucking act like it.
I think that's my favorite.
Scored 11 points. They have won two of the worst, most boring games I've ever seen.
The fans.
They've won. It's the other team was just shit the bed more than they did.
The fans counting down.
The bed next to them is just erupting with giant fluid fountains of turds. That's the only reason they've won 2 games.
That's what I'm
They
going to rename.
Seahawks. How bad is this team?
I'm renaming the stream to Giant Fluid Fountains of Turds.
It's that bit in Nightmare on Elm Street, except it not being blood coming out of the bed. It's just shit. That's how you lose to the Broncos, as far as I can tell. You have to do that. They're just not. You just have to not score. And it's not that their defense is super elite. It's good. They've got good players, but they've not been outstanding. It's just.
I think the fans counting down the play clock is one of my favourite things that's happened so far this season. It's hilarious, but it's clear to me that Nathaniel Hackett is in over his head. He might come good, but it's definitely not going to be this season. So sorry, Broncos fans.
Sorry, James.
Sorry. Just be relieved that you haven't given up loads of draft picks and a bunch of capital for that quarterback that is not playing very well.
Turns out you need to get rid of both him and Pete Carroll. So.
What we said, we were originally talking about the Chiefs, and then we got sidetracked.
Sorry, I got distracted by the AFC West.
Right, Ryan, what do you think about the Chiefs?
It was one of those games where every time it kind of cut to it on Red Zone, it was like, oh yeah, here it comes. Here's the game-winning drive for the Chiefs. Here's the usual. They're going to score a couple of touchdowns, and it just seemed to never come.
Yeah.
The Phil Mahomes be enemy thing, I've got a feeling that kind of happens all the time, and it was just this time it was so public. It looked as if Mahomes was doing that thing where, like you said, that we want to turn this game round with one play, and be enemy was just saying, look, calm down, it's the fucking Colts. We've got plenty of time. I don't think Mahomes came down from that level, which kind of caused an issue, but again, it's Mahomes. They'll be fine. They'll be okay. Yeah. So I was surprised it was the Colts that they lost to, though, considering how bad they've been. Is what I was surprised at, rather than, oh my god, the Chiefs lost. Because you remember Mahomes at the first 6-7 weeks last year didn't play well, really.
No, that's true. That's true. But then he really turned it on towards the end of the season.
Yeah. So I suspect if his performances continue to be of a good level, which is poor for Mahomes, then they'll turn it off when it matters. So yeah, I think they'll be okay.
Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to a slightly rosier topic. The NFL International Series kicks off again this weekend, and as we are all international fans, I'm sure we're all looking forward to the Minnesota Vikings completely dominating and destroying the New Orleans Saints at the weekend.
No bias here. No bias.
And I'm not biased. No, this is a completely unbiased look at exactly what's going to happen. And I, for one, am looking forward to Taysom Hill taking over in the fourth quarter.
Dan isn't.
No, Dan.
No, I don't like it. Don't like Taysom Hill. Go.
So let's talk a little bit about the game. The Saints come into the game on a 2-game losing streak because their superstar quarterback keeps throwing interceptions. And the Minnesota Vikings are difficult to pin down this season. They have played spectacularly against Green Bay. They've played poorly against the Eagles. And then they've played ish this weekend just gone. Cook might be out this game. They don't really appear to have much of an offense outside Justin Jefferson, as good as Justin Jefferson is. The defense isn't bad, but it's also not spectacular. But I think it's good. I think it's good enough to stop this Saints offense, which is woeful. The Saints defense is decent. It's not as good as it has been in years previous. I think age is starting to catch up with some of the star players on that defense of the Saints, but it's still good enough. Their secondary is still fairly good, and I think they'll do a good job of shutting down Justin Jefferson. So how do we see this game playing out, guys?
Winston throwing interceptions again. I've got an issue with the Vikings though. Is that Justin Jefferson only got me 2.8 points in fantasy last week, so we didn't exactly utilize him that well. But yeah, it's a classic Kirk Cousins led Vikings team. Seems to be they have a really amazing performances in them, and it seems to be they have meh and they have bad. There's kind of never any kind of consistency to it. But I think the Saints just aren't just don't have a good offense. Alvin Kamara looks really, really slow. He's just lost his legs, it seems, so far. Jameis Winston, my favourite fact about Jameis Winston, and I was there for the second one, was I think he's the first player in history for his first pass on 2 continents to be interceptions. So he had against the Titans, his first game in the NFL, first play interception. It was actually a pick six.
It was a pick six, I remember.
Against the Panthers 3 years ago. His first passing play was an interception as well at Spurs Stadium. So hopefully more of the same for the Saints. Yeah, I don't think they need Cook to win this game. They just need to play okay, and I think the Saints just aren't impressing me at all. They seem to pick up when they play us for some reason, especially on defense. But their offense just really just putrid into it. Just
yeah. Let's get a truly unbiased opinion though, Phil. Save us from all this Saints hate.
I think the Saints are going to struggle here. I do think they will, because as you have rightly pointed out, the difference is you've got 2 different type of roller coaster quarterbacks on these 2 teams. You've got Jameis, who can give you really high peaks, but these insane drops off where he just throws it to literally anybody that's not his team. And then you have Kirk Cousins, which is a much more gentle up and down. You have peaks where they have really good games like against the Packers, and then they have bad games like against the Eagles, though the Eagles are fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much I blame the Vikings for that. And then they have ish games. So they just have a very gentle up and down with Kirk, which is better, obviously. You don't want the insane highs and then sudden drop-offs randomly for no good reason. And they've got the better weapons even without Kirk, because they've got Jefferson. They've still got Adam Thielen. Whilst he isn't the youngest wide receiver in the league, he's still good. He's still good enough to get himself open, especially if Justin Jefferson's on the other side. Because, we've got to double cover him. So Adam Thielen's like, there's only one guy with me. Okay, I've got the ball now. Bye. I think they'll be fine. I really do. I don't. The Saints can win this game, obviously. Anybody can beat anybody, but they'd have to have a good Jameis game and have their defense not look ancient. And that's going to be the problem. Is they've got an aging defense against one of the best wide receivers in the league, and Kirk Cousins, who when he plays well he's really, really good. He might be a complete moron, but he is very good at throwing a ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't really see the Saints getting the win.
Yeah. I think the thing with Jameis, when you're talking about those high levels, which he obviously can do, the thing is he can have the high levels for 55 minutes of a game, and then 5 minutes it is that sudden drop,
Yes.
and they completely shit the bed. And you think, oh, Jameis is a good quarterback if he could fix that part of his game, and he just can't. And he'll go out and he'll say, yeah, that's on me. And I seen it on the bench at the weekend there, and he was saying, yep, that's on me, that's on me. Yeah, you've been saying that for 7 years now, 8 years now. Like, eventually you need to just stop doing that shit. And it's just not be able to.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jameis because he's great television. Because you're going to get great football, and then you're going to get something woeful, but at least it'll be really entertaining. It's like, yeah, I've thrown these 3 touchdown passes already. Oh, fuck it, I'll throw it to that guy. That guy's not on my team. Shit.
Did you see the Leonard Fournette Instagram Live? after the game, Devin White was interviewed, and he basically said, "Look, we know Jameis. We knew we were going to get the ball. That's what he does. That's what he does. He had a good defense." But Leonard Fournette went on Instagram Live on the plane after the game, and you could hear Chris Godwin go up to Devin White and go, like, basically, "Why the fuck did you say that about Jameis?" And Devin White was like, "Get the fuck out of here! Like, he's not our teammate. Like, who cares?" So there was a bit of an argument there between Chris Godwin and Devin White, but Fournette's like, I'm on live, and they're like, "Oh shit!" So yeah, there's a wee bit of something there, but yeah, Devin White, obviously, he's going to win. I think that man would win any argument with his shit talking. So yeah.
The thing with Jameis is all quarterbacks throw interceptions. All quarterbacks make mistakes. Jameis has an uncanny knack of making the exact wrong mistake at the exact wrong time. It's uncanny. But yeah, enough about Jameis Winston. I agree with you guys. I think the Vikings are going to win. I don't think the Saints defense is going to trouble them. And one of the things Kirk Cousins can do is not turn the ball over. And I think that's all they're going to need to do to win. Yeah. So yeah, it's the Vikings for me too. So was there anything else that happened in week 3 that we haven't talked about that we'd like to talk about?
Zach Wilson's due to come back. Maybe.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's a good thing or not.
The Jets didn't.
Is it going to make a difference?
Maybe. I don't know. I think
the Jets still
be better than Joe Flacco in there, surely. I know the Browns shit the bed, but yeah, I think that I'm looking forward just to watch him as well and see what he can do. Wentz gets sacked about 1 million times.
9 times.
That's 2021 Cincinnati Bengals level of getting sacked.
And I think also the other thing is that hopefully everyone, hopefully Jerry Jones sees that Tony Pollard's a better player than Zeke Elliott, and they need to give him the ball a lot more.
I don't think it's going to make a huge difference which one of them gets the ball against the Commanders this week, because they're still just going to run through them because the Commanders suck.
They do. Speaking of teams that should suck, but actually kind of interesting. How do you feel about the Falcons? They are surprisingly entertaining.
Mariota, I said, he's my guy. I think his average depth of target or something that I was listening to the Athletic. I was half asleep, so I don't know if I heard it right, but average depth of target was like 16 yards.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Absolutely, that's crazy. I think Tom Brady's at the weekend was 3.3.
Yeah.
Drake London looks great. Kyle Pitts showing what he can do. Kyle Pitts looked like a prime Julio Jones in the slot. A really fun team to watch. But I think when they come up against good teams, that's when even if they have the lead with 5 minutes to go, that's when they do a Falcons and lose the game. Really enjoying watching them. Really enjoying watching Mariota.
I get the feeling that the coaches are better than fuck it, just throw it, mate.
He's doing it well.
Let's be fucking entertaining. Just launch it. We've got decent receivers. Just fucking throw it to them. It doesn't really matter. It's fine.
But it's not.
We're not expecting anything this year. Just fuck it. Launch the fucking thing.
It's not just the attitude though. He's designing the plays really well, and they're doing a great job because a lot of the times those receivers are open. It's not like he's having to make tough throws. No. The receivers are open because Arthur Smith is doing a great job scheming them open. So I think the Falcons have got their coach.
Yeah,
they've got their coach for the future. They just need to fill in the rest of the pieces.
And he seems to know what to do with that sort of style of quarterback.
Yeah.
Mariota's always been a bit more of a slightly more mobile type thing, whereas Matt Ryan's basically
the statue.
Immobile. Can't move.
It's just stuck to the floor. Just, and yeah, I think they're just. I mean, Mariota lost out in Tennessee on the basis of a couple of bad performances in the playoffs, which is fine. I get that. They were like, look, we want someone who's going to take us a bit further. And they went and got Tannehill, and they got better in the regular season, but still only got so far in the playoffs again. Whereas Mariota, I think this is what you kind of needed. It was just a bit of a fresh start, a fresh scene, not to worry too much. And the coach is just like, look, I'll scheme up some stuff to get these like younger guys open. They're young, they're fast. They're clearly London and Pitt are both very good receivers. Let's just have fun with it. I'll scheme up some fun stuff. Will be fun, which is I think what the Falcons fans would have wanted. They were realistic. They know they're not going to be necessarily Super Bowl winners, but if they can be fucking entertaining every week, that's great. And it's a good place to build from. Yeah,
to that point. I think if that's the case for like the Buccaneers were under Jameis, it gets to a point where it's like, no shit, we really should be winning at this point. Well, they've got another year or two before that.
Sure.
But you mentioned the Titans as well, though. That was the other thing I was going to say. Massive win for Tennessee, and a massive loss for the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders needed to win that.
Both teams needed to.
Yeah.
The thing is though, the difference for me between those two teams is their coaching staff. I believe in Vrabel. I do not believe in McDaniels. Yeah. I think Vrabel's a sneaky good coach, and not just a motivator. I think he's a sneaky good X's and O's coach as well.
I mean, I like Vrabel as a coach. I like the fact that he just completely blanked Urban Meyer last year. That made me really happy. Just fuck off. Just kept walking. Just like, I respect that. Yeah. I think Tennessee's problem is still going to be the lack of receivers and running Derrick Henry into the ground. I think more than anything else. But I still think they're going to be a decent team because their division's not great. They're going to beat up on their division.
Don't know. Chargers,
Pop
not
the
Chargers.
Jags.
I was going to say the Jags. Jags looking decent.
Are the Jags doing the Bengals from last year?
Maybe.
He looks really, really good.
They might be.
Bizarre.
It's amazing what getting rid of Urban Meyer does.
But yeah, it shows what a difference just a competent coach
and a positive attitude. Pleasant workplace.
Yeah, it's such a difference it makes.
Don't kick the kicker.
Yeah,
it's the little things.
Hug the kicker. Love him.
But unless it's Roberto Aguayo kick him, boo.
Poor bear.
Sorry. Where was I? Yeah, so just it shows confident coaching. Can do. Trevor Lawrence looks a completely different player.
Yeah, you're seeing the talent now. You're seeing it.
Yeah.
Which you never really got to see last year because they never did anything to help him.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
all it's taken is half decent scheme schemed around him, and all of a sudden he's starting to look like the player he was in college.
Yeah, because it would have been a tragedy if the Jags had completely ruined him because he was so talented in college, and so I'm glad for Trevor Lawrence. Hopefully, they'll be better this year, and then. Well, we'll see. Anything else from week 3?
Just happy to see Myles Garrett's okay after that car crash.
Oof.
So yeah, that's good to see he's okay. And I think he should play this weekend as well, which is good. So
yeah. Always good to see that.
The team he plays for.
Well, it's not his fault.
No, I like Myles Garrett. Seems like a good.
I like Myles Garrett.
Play basketball.
Anybody that goes after Mason Rudolph is good in my eyes.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, we're going to end up seeing Mason Rudolph at some point, aren't we?
Oh, yes, we are.
Nobody wants that. Oh.
It's one of my big OICs for this year with the gents is that the Steelers are going to play 4 quarterbacks this season, and I think I'm quids in to get that. All right, let's talk about tonight's epic showdown between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins. Who do we have winning this game, gentlemen?
I've gone for Dolphins, although that was before I knew that Waddle and Armstead were questionable. So if there's no Waddle and Armstead, then I would be inclined to go the other way. But as we don't know, I'm going to stick with Dolphins for now.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Anne?
I'm going to go with Dolphins as well.
I feel good now. You picked it. It's fine.
the Bengals. You still don't know what they are. They played the Jets to beat the Jets. Like you still the problem.
It's what you do.
Yeah, you should always beat the Jets.
Yeah, could still be there, and I think the Dolphins look so inventive and good, and they've played really good teams so far. Yeah, I'm surprised they're the underdogs, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they've beaten the Ravens and the Bills already.
Yeah, so I'm pretty confident the Dolphins will win tonight.
If this was being played on a Sunday, I would agree with both of you. I think on paper, the Dolphins are a much better team than the Bengals. The thing that gives me pause is the insane game they played against the Bills in the heat and then having to go up to Cincinnati on a short week. That's the thing I think is going to be a big leveler in this game because I think they're just going to be exhausted from what they had to do on Sunday. Now, they are elite level athletes. You'd hope they've recovered enough, but I'm not sure. I think it's easy. They might touch wood. No one does, but when you play a game like that and then you've got to play again quickly, it's injury city, unfortunately. So I think that's a big leveler in this game. So I also believe in Joe Burrow. I think he's an incredible quarterback, and I believe in his ability. I want to be very clear about this: his ability, not the coaching staff's. His ability to push that team to wins. So I'm kind of 50-50, and when it's 50-50 for me, I go with the home team. So I'm going to pick the Bengals to win. Our erstwhile friend Baz, who can't be with us today, get better soon, Baz. He's also picked the Bengals, so we're going to see some movement in the table at the very least. So we will have an exciting discussion next week.
Well, it'll be a more exciting game than last week's was.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It definitely will. So, have we got any other business, gentlemen?
No, nothing. Nothing. I think we've covered most of the main topics.
Yep.
Yeah, just hopefully Justin Jefferson gets thrown the ball more this weekend and gets me a fantasy win.
Yes.
It's my only thing.
All hope that Ryan's fantasy team does a lot better this weekend.
And I've dropped Allen Robinson. He's gone.
Watch him now. Watch him have like 150 yard and 2-score game.
Yeah, he was taking up my third. He was taking up my flex place. I mean, there's only so long I watch Ayuk on my bench racking up a consistent 10, 11 points every week.
Who are the Niners playing? The Niners are playing the Rams as well. So
yeah,
it's just be your luck that Ayuk will do pretty badly. And
Robinson has a breakout Rams game, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Garoppolo will throw to nothing. He'll throw to Jalen Ramsey a couple of times.
Yeah, put your money on it. Allen Robinson, hat trick of touchdowns.
There we go. You heard it here first, everybody. So, if you're watching this back in on the feed and you want to disagree with us, please leave us a comment on Otherwise, we will see you all again next weekend. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.